Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a long time. Please excuse the background noise. There may be a gardener doing some stuff back there. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about my labor and delivery story. It's been about a year, close to a year, since I've made a video. So my son turned 1 year on November 14th, and it is now December 17th, I think. And I haven't really had time or a yearning to make videos in that time. It was extremely overwhelming and all-consuming, and I was perfectly fine with just being focused on being a mom. So today I would like to talk about the things that I would have done differently in my labor, because hindsight is always 2020. So I guess it will be kind of a longer video, but it will also be pretty chatty, and I'm kind of going to touch on different parts of my labor and delivery. So get yourself a coffee or a tea and join me. So let's get started. I'm going to try to do this in one take, so I don't want to edit anything, simply because I just don't feel like editing. Baby is at grandma's house right now down the street, so I've got some time to do this. All right, so number one, I would have waited for spontaneous labor to start a little longer. So basically what happened with me is, excuse me, it was a Friday and my water broke, and I waited and waited and nothing. Nothing happened. No contractions, absolutely nothing. My water just broke on my bed when I sat down. Luckily I had a waterproof pad on because I kind of was afraid that it was going to break in the night. So just to be safe, I put a pad on my bed. Anyway, yeah, it broke on a Friday at around 1 p.m. 8 p.m. rolls around. I call my doula. She's like, yeah, you can just chill for a while. And then I guess my mistake that I made was that I called the hospital and kind of psyched myself out. They said that there was a risk of infection if I sat for too long with no water, which I now know that there will always be some water as long as your baby is still in you. As far as having a dry birth, that's just not really a thing. I'm sure in some rare cases, some complication has happened. But anyway, I digress. So I probably should have just listened to my doula and not gotten myself psyched out by talking to the labor and delivery nurses, although they're extremely knowledgeable, obviously. And yes, I did listen to them, and I'm glad that I did. But I probably would have waited a little longer just to see if my contractions would have kicked in naturally. So anyway, when they didn't, at around 8 or 9, my husband and I headed to the hospital, which is literally 2 minutes away. Got checked in. They checked to see if my water had broken. They checked for fluid, and it did indeed break. So by that time, still nothing had happened, and they were just monitoring me in triage. And then shortly after, they started me on Cervidil. That was the one, Cervidil. And still nothing happened. what is the one? I did 2 before Pitocin, 2 ripening agents. I think it's like Cervidil and Cytotec or something. Once again, I'm not a labor and delivery professional, but they put a medicine up in me, into my cervix, that sat next to my cervix, that tried to ripen and soften my cervix, which would help facilitate contractions, but that didn't work. So that's the first thing. I wish that I would have let spontaneous labor kick in, or at least just waited a little bit longer. Number 2 thing that I wish I would have done is slept. I got so excited when I got there. They put the Cervidil or Cytotec in, whichever one it was, first. And I was just so hyped up. I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to miss anything. I had a comfortable bed. My husband had a comfortable spot next to me. At this time, there wasn't much going on, so my doula wasn't there yet. And we were just watching TV. I think my husband did eventually fall asleep, but I didn't. And now I look back, and that was probably one of the most pivotal things, was my lack of sleep, that ended up really making my birth plan not go as planned. So that's number 2. Number 3. So my OB/GYN delivered at this hospital that's like 2 minutes away from me. And we did the tour, and everything was great. The staff seemed great. The only thing that was kind of strange, and like every YouTube birth vlog that I watched, which I feel like I watched every single one of them before I went into labor, they had this beautiful view, or like a huge window, at least with natural sunlight coming in. My room, the way that this labor and delivery ward was designed, my room did not have a window. It was just fluorescent lighting for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I don't know what it is, but after a while, it was like, dude, I just want to look outside. I just want to see what's going on outside. I don't know. And that was a big thing for me. After I delivered, they switched me to a regular room that had a window, and it was like just night and day, difference. It was amazing. Just to be able to look out and see, I live in Las Vegas, see the desert landscape. It was just so much more peaceful to me. The fluorescent, and I turned off the lights and had the natural light coming in. The fluorescent lights of the labor and delivery room, it was just uncomfortable after hours and days. I literally spent days in there. And they do try to make it as comfortable as possible, but it just, it definitely bothered me. That was one thing that I remember telling my husband and my doula about. Number 3 is snacks. So, snacks. You get hungry because you're pregnant. And, they say not to eat. They give you this IV. The IV makes you so swollen. It's crazy. But you can have snacks here and there. I'm going against medical advice right now, I suppose. Like I said, I'm not a professional. Disclaimer, don't freaking listen to me. Listen to your doctor, listen to your nurses. But in the days before, when I was sitting there and I was like 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters dilated and nothing was happening, I could have had a granola bar, or a cup of yogurt or something. Anyway, that is that. And then number 5 is a big one. It's pretty personal, so, and please click off this video if you're not comfortable with any of this labor and delivery talk, because this one's gonna get kind of personal. I wish so much that I would have paid more attention to the integrity of my behind. So, I got an epidural. So the Cervidil and the Cytotec, I believe is what it's called, they did nothing. I did progress to about a 5. Who's to say if that was just my body naturally progressing or the drug, but they certainly didn't start contractions. You could see on them, or I didn't feel contractions. You could see on the machine that I was having some mild contractions, but I did not feel them. The nurses were even like, "You're not feeling that?" I said, "No, not really." I didn't have any pain. And this is before the epidural. So finally, that was Friday and Saturday. Finally, on Saturday night, could have been Saturday early morning, like 1 a.m., I decided to get the Pitocin drip. And as soon as the Pitocin drip started, I knew, because I had been to a few of my friends' births, labors, and I've seen, a bunch on YouTube. As soon as the Pitocin kicked in, I started having very painful contractions. And that's when I called my doula, and I kind of told her, I was like, "Hey, as soon as I start taking this Pitocin, I'd like you to come, because I'm probably going to need some help." Anyway, yeah, Pitocin started, and that's when I started just having these contractions. Man, it was intense. I was really trying to breathe through them, and they say that Pitocin contractions are different than regular contractions. I don't know, because this was my first time going into labor, and I didn't even go into labor. I didn't let my body go into natural labor. And I had not slept yet. So by then I was just delirious. I was so delirious, and I was so tired, and I was so ready. And you can't sleep when you're, having these contractions at all. And then the Pitocin made them kind of back to back, just stacked. You didn't really have a rest in between, and it's exhausting. So finally I asked for the epidural. And keep in mind, my birth plan was completely different. I wanted to go all natural. Yeah. And who knows, maybe if, spontaneous labor would have occurred and I would have gone into these contractions naturally, maybe I would have, who knows. I am going to attempt that for my next baby, which my husband and I would like to try to conceive within these next few months, because we don't want our kids too far apart. Anyway, that's another video. So yeah, who really knows? It just got really intense really fast, a little overwhelming, especially being that tired. And yeah, that's the story. Finally I got the epidural, and I got some sleep, because the epidural is absolutely wonderful. I got some sleep, and I remember waking up to this pressure down there, and then the pressure would release, and then the pressure would come back, and then it would release. And I just remember it kind of waking me up. I was in this like dream state, because I'm like super drugged up, and I remember I felt like it was my son like knocking, like, "Hey, I'm ready to come out." So I told my doula, who was sleeping in a chair, I was like, hey, something's going on, and she got the nurse, and the nurse checked me, and I was 10 centimeters dilated. Just the fact that I got to like relax and sleep, it really helped my body release and open up. And I mean, within, I think it was like 2 hours, I went from like a 5 to a 10. So it was time to push. And by then the epidural kind of was wearing off. I could feel my legs a little bit. I still couldn't hold them up by myself. My husband and my doula did help me hold my legs. But I could definitely feel them. Luckily, I couldn't feel anything as far as like my pelvic floor. I don't know if it's luckily. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't really feel my pelvic floor or anything. And my doula had told me when I push, kind of push like you're doing a crunch, like a curl, and you know, use your abdomen to kind of you know, push the baby out. And so I did that, and I was doing great. You know, my OB was like, great, you're doing really good. And I had to get him past the pelvic bone, and luckily there was just pressure, no pain, but I pushed like a champ. And afterwards, I just realized I really effed myself up. I did tear. The tear wasn't even the issue for me. It was a 2nd-degree tear, but the issue for me was the hemorrhoids afterwards. Man, let me tell you, I effed myself up. Like, it was so painful, just pain. I remember just wanting ice and like cooling things down there. I literally like wanted to just sit on a block of ice. That's what I wanted. But anyway, that was hard, and it was it took a long time to heal from that. I feel like even still to this day, I'm still kind of healing and learning how to live with this new pelvic floor. My pelvic floor is definitely weakened, obviously. A lot of people are like, go to a pelvic floor specialist, and maybe I will. I haven't yet. And, you know, I've been doing exercises like Kegels and stuff, but just, you know, after you have a baby, nothing's really the same. You go to the bathroom differently. It is what it is, you know. But yeah, I think next time, and they do say, from what I've, you know, read and watched, that if you don't do the epidural, you kind of have more control over what your pelvic floor is doing because you feel it. You know, the fact that I just was pushing my heart's content out and I didn't feel it, I just had no control or any kind of knowing where anything was. So that's kind of the gist of things that I would have done differently. I guess I could make like a detailed labor and delivery story. Oh, this isn't something that I wrote down, but I definitely wish I would have documented more and taken more pictures. For sure, that would have been cool. Anyway, everything turned out wonderful. Nothing went as planned. I had this birth plan, and luckily I'm the type of person, I'm a realist for sure, so I knew, like, even if I had this plan, things can completely just go opposite direction, and they pretty much did. But I am extremely happy with how everything turned out. My son came out healthy and happy, and so did I. I came out of it happy and healthy, and everything's good, so I couldn't ask for anything more. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. I know it was very chatty. Thanks for staying till the end if you did. And stay tuned. I am ready to make more videos, and please comment on like what kind of content you would like to see from me. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much. Bye.